Bank. So it's 10:16 now here, and we're about 16 minutes into the first curfew of this storm system in the East Baton Rouge Parish area. And earlier today, there was a little bit of confusion about this curfew. On one side, the mayor of Baton Rouge said that he didn't think that it was necessary. And then on the other side, you had the law enforcement perspective headed up by Sid Gautreaux, backed by Colonel Edmondson, and then eventually the governor, who said, we do think that it is necessary. So basically what happened today is the sheriff of East Baton Rouge Parish went to the governor and got him to give him the power to issue a curfew. So Baton Rouge right now is under a curfew from 10 o'clock until 6 o'clock. The sheriff stopped by here just a little while ago to talk with us about that, to kind of give you an idea, explain the curfew. So here's my conversation with Sheriff Sid Gautreaux here just a few moments ago. The big dust up today, if that's what you want to call it, over the curfew. It appears the mayor didn't want it. You think we need it?
Yeah, you know, as chief law enforcement officer of the parish and as sheriff of this parish, I think it was very important for us to do it. And the reason we called it, or I called it, is for the safety of the first responders, is for the safety of the public. And, you know, we're still out there as we speak making rescues. We will be doing that through the night into tomorrow. And depending on what the water does down south, we may be doing this into the next day. So that entered into the decision, entered into my decision as well. But you know, not just the safety of the first responders, the safety of the public as well. We've got a lot of these areas where they have no electricity, there's no street lights, there's no traffic lights. And you know, we just, it hinders them when there's a lot of other people out there. Greg, but in the last 24 hours, I'd reported earlier, we had 10 people arrested for looting. That actually, that figure was 17. So, you know, that's a concern. I'm getting concerns, calls from everybody, subdivision associations and homeowners. Man, are y'all gonna please have somebody over there? My house is empty, blah, blah, blah. And they're very concerned about it. So we're doing the best we can with all of that. And you know, but I wanted to take the time, and I appreciate you having me on. I wanted to take the time to really explain to the public, not only the general public, but the business community as well. You know, we got a curfew. But we're not going to hamper anybody's ability to go to and from work. You know, we know like Associated Grocers, you know, they delivering stuff 24/7, and we're not going to stop those people from doing that. I know the newspapers starting their delivery back in the morning. They all got their credentials, and if they got a carload of newspapers, we're not going to question what they're doing. Sure. But the curfew gives law enforcement the ability to check out somebody who's in an area and see if they have a legitimate excuse to be there. But we know we got people that work at hospitals. We know we got people that work plant work and work shift work. We're not going to hinder any of their ability to do that.
And I don't know, some people might not remember when we were under curfews before, but never do you have, like, you know, there's no roadblocks. You're not stopping people on the interstate. No, I mean, no. You'd have to be doing something that was a little out of place. But that could be, though, if you're walking through a neighborhood that doesn't have electricity.
Right.
That
in itself, a question. That in itself raises a question, because, you know, most of the people have had to get out of there. If their house went underwater, they're not back in there. They're getting back in some of those areas now, because when you fly over, and it reminds me so much of Katrina. Mm-hmm. I worked Katrina for 8 days, and, you know, the first 24, 36 hours of this, when we flew up, water everywhere as far as you could see. A lot of the water is receded, especially up north, central part of the parish. But now you fly over and you see homes that have all their belongings, all their furniture put just, you know, out by the road. So it gives me flashbacks of Katrina. But I think, as you said and others have said, this is unprecedented. But this, I think, was Baton Rouge's Katrina, right. You know, and Jay and I were talking at MOSEP the other day. He said, Sid, the way, if you looked at the air currents of this thing, it's sitting over Baton Rouge, he said if it would have been 200 miles south in the Gulf, it would have been a hurricane, and he's right, you know. So,
when you think about that, you still have people out there who need to be rescued, and so, I mean, you only have so many people. I know we brought people in, but you got to rotate guys and girls in and out, and
That's right.
people are starting to get tired. Is that part of the curfew decision too? Because you don't have enough people to go sit in front of Broadmoor or go sit in front of wherever.
That's another decision. We're not dealing with one little area of the parish that, okay, these 4 subdivisions lost power, or these 4 subdivisions went underwater. We're dealing with a much broader scope. We don't have the manpower to be everywhere, even though we've called upon the Sheriff's Association, and we've got, I think, a total of 10 different sheriff's departments that have sheriff's deputies working in here, Livingston, St. Helena. But I mean, we have extra personnel, we have extra manpower, but you still, these guys are working 24, 36 hours at a time now. Sure. So that is a concern of ours as well, because I've got 150 deputies that lost their home.
And see, when you told me that before we started this, I mean, that's just shocking to me. I mean, I hate that, because they're still out there working.
Yeah. I look at them and I say, man, what are you doing? They've been out there for 36 hours. I know they lost their home. Sheriff, I ain't gonna stop. I'm not stopping, So.
I get you. Is that where you're getting your strength from, or your inspiration from, to see those guys out there going? I mean, you've been in these waters.
Yeah, and it's not just, I know I'm the leader, and I'm proud of what the men and women are doing, but it's not only that, but it's the inspiration of knowing that you're helping the public, because we got a lot of people hurting.
I think when people see you guys thus far, and all that Baton Rouge has been through in this last month and a half, and it's just, we hadn't really caught a break. It's really just been kind of a month and a half of hell, really, and it's hard for y'all to take a breath, and we hadn't taken a breath, and there's not a whole lot of end in sight.
No, there isn't, but I'm very proud of the people of Baton Rouge, the parish. We got a great bunch of people here. We really do. I mean, to go what this parish has gone through, as you say, over the last month and a half, and for that, see the resiliency of the people and people coming together to help each other has been remarkable.
When you think about seeing water in places we hadn't seen water, are we learning some things from this?
I certainly think we are, because we go back and we use the flood of '83, which I worked at, as the benchmark, so to speak. This has totally changed everything, and I was talking earlier. I'm gonna get with the Corps of Engineers after this is all over with, and I want to see where this water was and come up with a new grid as to where our areas of concern are, because we don't have just a few now. We've got a whole lot to be concerned with, and I think it changes everything on how we have to prepare and how we have to respond in the future, because it is different. And when you look at '83 and you look at 2016, we've had a tremendous amount of development in this parish. People are complaining, saying, I've never had water here, or something's wrong with our drainage. We may have some drainage issues, but me personally, I think, look at the development. We've got a whole lot more houses, we've got a lot more businesses, and in a lot of places, especially in the southern part of the parish, they've had to build ground up to build on, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Concrete doesn't absorb water.
Right.
So I just think that's changed, and it's going to change how we have to look at this in the future, is where we need to have our resources staged and be ready to roll. But I want to assure the people as well, Greg, that we have the people out here we need to have to ensure their protection. And we're going to continue to do what we're doing. Law enforcement's a 24/7 job regardless.
Yeah.
But in times like this, it's even more so. You got to have your resources.
Especially when you got to deal with things at home, and wives and husbands at home that's lost their home, and then you've got to be out there and doing this. And unfortunately, we had, it's a handful of, I call them knuckleheads earlier, but that really messed it up by doing the looting and that type of thing,
right.
and
That's right.
pulling resources away.
Yeah.
As people go to bed tonight watching this, do you have a message for folks and what they can?
Well, I
on to?
want to ask them to continue to act in a manner and conduct themselves. We know they're frustrated. We're frustrated. Everybody's frustrated, but we need to continue to work together. to work through this, and we will, and we'll come out of it, and we'll be better people. But you know, God's still in control, and we got to give it over and just do what we know is the right thing to do. And you know, I'm very fortunate. I've been blessed all my life. People of this parish gave me an opportunity to serve and in this capacity, and you know, I have an obligation not only to the people of this parish to serve and protect, but I got that same obligation to the men and women in my department, and I take that very seriously.
Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate
clearing
you.
up some stuff
Thank
and
you.
Putting us at ease on some things. Thank you.
Thank you.